Hello everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. Today I am doing a gouache painting inspired by the moon, and it's called Cradling the Moon. My kids have been lately very obsessed with Bruno Mars Talking to the Moon, and we've been hearing it on laps on our car rides and at home, and I must say, it is a beautiful song, and that is partially the inspiration for this piece of where it came from. I just imagine that at some point in our lives that our living situation where our kids will part and they will have their own family, but we will still see the same moon regardless where we are in the world. So that's the inspiration for this piece, that we'll all be seeing the same moon, we'll talk to the moon, and hoping that our significant other, our friends and families are doing well while admiring the same moon. As I am painting this is near the Mid-Autumn Festival for those of you who celebrate it, and this is a time when family gets together and we admire the beautiful harvest moon together. So here I have this girl that I'm having with this blue hair, this flashy blue hair, cradling a moon in her arms, and I can imagine she's whispering and telling it all its secrets and stories that she wants to share with her friends and family. I'm planning on actually doing two separate pieces of this theme of talking to the moon, and as I'm painting this, I'm listening to Bruno Mars Talking to the Moon, and it's just so surreal and so beautiful as I am painting this process. Unfortunately, I can't put that music on this YouTube video because there will be copyright issues, but if you ever get a chance, have a listen to that music from Bruno Mars. I just think it's a beautiful song, and that's what this piece is inspired from. I wanted to do a blue moon piece for this first one, and then afterwards I'm gonna do a theme that is a little bit warmer. So this is a cooler tone moon, whereas the next piece is going to be a warmer tone moon. So you can see I'm using a lot of cooler blues, as well as the yellow I'm going to use for the moon later on. It's going to be like a cooler sunshiny yellow as opposed to like a sunflower yellow, and I thought that would be really cool. And along with that, I'm using this gray tone paper. It's a mixed media paper that I picked up at my local art store, and it's really fun actually to play around with gray tone paper, because one of the things I don't enjoy painting a lot or drawing a lot are those mid-tones. I really like drawing the shadows and the highlights, and the gray tone really challenges me to think of where the shadows are and where the lights are, and just enjoying the process. And it just kind of helps with that creative process, for that mental exercise for me to practice drawing in different ways. Even though I'm using just my regular acrylic gouache, it's nice to step outside my box and try something new. These gray tone mixed media paper are pretty thick, and I still use plenty of water as I mix it with gouache. I do tape it down with painter's tape to make sure that the piece doesn't buckle up. I don't want to fill and color in the full background because I do want that gray tone paper that's unique to this paper to kind of really shine through. You can see that as I'm painting on this character, this girl, I do have to do several layers. So let's say if I want to do a lighter, pale, more fair face, the first layer of paint is still going to have that underlying gray tone paper coming through. So I have to put several layers on to have some of those highlight colors to really stand out. So that's a tip I thought I'll let you know. You do have to be very patient, wait for the previous layer to dry before adding on the next layer. And that is a trick related to gouache, and you just have to be very patient with it. One of my guilty pleasures as I'm painting is probably painting hair. I love painting hair, but at the same time I don't have a lot of patience, and sometimes I just go overboard and paint too much hair and too much highlight. So I have to constantly remind myself to step back, look at the piece, and is this what I want? And rather than just being really focused on the details on a specific part of the painting, such as the girl's face as well as the hair. I think it's like that for a lot of artists, that we like doing the face, the hair, and other parts like the background for some of us, or hands are not really our forte. You can see now I'm adding on some of those darker colors. I'm trying to practice looking at a painting as a whole rather than focusing on specific parts. You can see some of these darker colors really make the main character pop a lot more. using plenty of water, as you can see in the background, so the gray tone still kind of comes through. The general color scheme for this is cooler, but I did mix in a little bit of red with the blue to create some of these like darker shadows. I know you have a choice of using black gouache if you would like to, but I find that black is such a color that seems to don't have as much depth. Even though it is black, I feel like if you use a blend of different types of like cyan or like cobalt blues, it creates more dimension and it makes it a little bit more interesting than just matte black when you're doing shadows. And that's just my personal preference. So far in this painting, I've spent around, I would say, close to probably 8 hours or maybe 6 hours on the piece. It's hard to tell because I usually do these paintings in segments of like an hour or 2 hours at a time in between as my kids are napping. Of course, as my kids grow older and they grow out napping, I'm not sure if I'll have as many opportunities to paint, which is a shame, but at the same time, like I get more time with my kids, so it's a very fine balance. So I'm gonna try to do as many videos as I can while I have the setup already and I have the time to paint, but I don't really know this is something I can do ongoing. On a separate note or similar note, if you like the content on the channel, I would appreciate it very much if you consider giving this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. It really means a lot, and thank you so much for considering. And that's all I want to bring up for this painting so far about cradling the moon and the idea behind the painting and some of the techniques and materials I've used so far. Of course, this video is not sponsored, it's purely out of interest, and I really appreciate you tuning into my channel and checking out my artist process as I paint some of my artwork from 0 to 100 so you can see how the painting transpires over time. So I'll give you a little bit more time to kind of watch as I wrap up this painting. So here is the finished piece, Cradling the Moon. I hope you enjoy this art time lapse as I paint this really, I would say, very beautiful piece. One of the pieces that I'm very proud of lately, with this cool moon tone as opposed to the warmer moon I'll be doing later. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time in another video. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.